Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify a problem that, let's be honest, plagues literally almost every single language learner at some point. We're going to look closely at exactly how you can practice speaking English and actually see massive improvements in your fluency when you are entirely by yourself. If you've ever felt like your progress is just totally stalled out because you don't have a practice partner, well, you are definitely in the right place. It's an incredibly frustrating roadblock, isn't it? You know for a fact that to get better at speaking, you just have to practice. You got to put the reps in. But what on earth are you supposed to do when you have absolutely no one to converse with in English? It kind of feels like an impossible situation. You might be surrounded by people who only speak your native language, or maybe your schedule simply doesn't allow for those standard language exchanges. So how can you possibly practice speaking under those conditions? Okay, let's dive into this because we really need to face a harsh truth about language acquisition. Look, you could spend hours passively studying grammar rules or just listening to English podcasts alone in your room, but that is never on its own going to improve your speaking fluency. Why? Because speaking is a physical and cognitive muscle. To get better at it, you have to actively participate. You literally have to speak out loud. Part 1, Advanced Imitation Explained. This is the core solution to our solo practice problem. So, let's define exactly what we mean here, because it's vital to understand what this tool actually does for you. Imitation, in this context, is a highly dedicated self-study speaking technique. It's designed specifically to improve multiple aspects of your spoken English all at once. We're talking your sentence structure, your practical grammar, your active vocabulary, and honestly, most importantly, your overall ability to effectively express your thoughts and ideas. And the absolute best part? It allows you to practice entirely by yourself, entirely on your own schedule. But here is a crucial distinction. We really need to understand what advanced imitation is not. When I say imitation, I'm not talking about just parroting a native speaker by repeating their exact words just to nail the pronunciation. That's a completely different exercise. True advanced imitation requires you to listen to a conversation, a story, or a speech, and then actively try to deliver those exact same ideas, but in your own words. You're processing the meaning and regenerating it, not just echoing sounds. Part 2, Easy to Hard Progressive Training. Let's look at the actual methodology for doing this. Progressive training is exactly what it sounds like. It's the concept of starting with a really easy activity and systematically cranking up the difficulty of that activity to force your brain to adapt and improve. It's literally the exact same concept you'd use in weightlifting at a gym, right? I mean, you don't just walk in and start bench pressing 300 pounds on day one. Numerous studies have found this easy to hard progression to be an amazingly effective way to train cognitive skills, especially when it comes to language generation. So let's break down how this builds step by step. In step 1, you start incredibly small. You listen to and then imitate in your own words just small phrases and short sentences. Once you got a handle on that, you graduate to step 2, where you wait for the speaker to complete a full thought or a much larger chunk of an idea before you pause the audio and express it yourself. Finally, in step 3, the big leagues, you listen to the entire speech or story from beginning to end and then attempt to deliver the whole shebang on your own. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how you transition from being just a passive listener to an active, confident speaker. Let's look at a highly practical example of what it looks like to transform a speaker's original sentence into your own words. Okay, imagine you're listening to a speaker telling a fun story about their childhood. The original audio says, "When I was a child, my parents liked to pretend that Santa Claus would bring us presents at Christmas." As a learner using advanced imitation, you wouldn't just repeat that verbatim. No, you would actively translate it into the third person, stating out loud, "When he was a child, his parents liked to pretend that Santa Claus would bring them presents at Christmas." Boom, you've just successfully processed the information and totally rebuilt the sentence structure on your own. Part 3, the implicit grammar trick. This is where things get really cool. This technique has a massive compounding effect on your language skills. As you practice advanced imitation, you're obviously learning to form sentences properly. You're also naturally picking up real idioms and day-to-day expressions because you're engaging with authentic, conversational source material. But the ultimate benefit, the absolute magic trick here, is that you are absorbing complex grammar rules completely automatically, literally without even realizing you're doing it. Now, what's really interesting about this process is the science behind why it works so incredibly well. It's called implicit learning. This is the psychological process where learning happens completely under the radar, without your conscious awareness. When you use advanced imitation, you are tapping into the exact same biological mechanism that babies and young children use to effortlessly learn the crazy, complex grammar rules of their very first language. Think about it. They don't study textbooks, do they? They listen, they imitate, and they learn implicitly. Think about the traditional, often super painful way we are taught languages. You're usually sitting there, staring at a textbook, actively agonizing over why the present perfect tense is used in situation A, but not situation B. It's exhausting, and honestly, it's often ineffective for real-time speaking. But with advanced imitation, you don't think about the rules at all. Your brain is focused 100% on communication, on just understanding and expressing the idea. While your conscious mind is busy focusing on the story, your subconscious mind is actively downloading the grammar rules in the background. It's widely considered one of the most natural, proper ways to truly master grammar. So it is time to put this into practice. It's time to stop relying solely on dense grammar books and passive listening. You now have a proven, easy-to-hard framework to practice speaking English completely on your own terms, all while secretly mastering grammar in the background. The only question left is, what will be the very first speech or story you choose to imitate today? Go out there, find a fascinating piece of audio, start with step 1, and watch your fluency grow. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, happy learning!